Alright, so far with Factory IO, all we've done is just open scenes. So let's go ahead and open one. We might have been working with, let's go with sorting by weight. So far all we've done is use this, set up our driver for it, so that way it connects to our Allen Bradley, and that has been it. Alright. However, we are going to take that to a new level today. And we're going to talk about how to construct your own scenario. Alright. Now, over here on the right, if you do File New, we have all of the different objects that we can place in this scenario. Now, at the very bottom of the screen of that, you'll notice that there is text that appears, and as you move your mouse, that text is changing, so it does actually tell you what that item is. It took me a while to figure that one out. So that becomes a very helpful piece of information when you are dealing with this, because you're like, well, what is this thing? And it's a retroreflective sensor. So if we throw that on there, you'll see that there is this white line appears that basically says this is the sensing distance for that sensor. However, because it's retroreflective, we also need to put a mirror on the end. Now notice how when you put your mirror there, it goes from yellow to white. Go ahead and click on that. So mirror. So now we're getting a true signal. Now we're getting no signal. All right. So we are getting a lot of information there based just purely on that. Now in theory, if we did go ahead and put an object there that was reflective, let's try that one. Nope, that doesn't work. So again, retroreflective, it is expecting this to be there to bounce the light back. Now I have not tried, angling it. And if you notice, as I angle it too much, it doesn't get it back because of the angle. So, kind of interesting there. So anyway, that line shows you how far it will. Basically, that mirror has to be how close. All right. Now, if we right-click on some of these, you have yaw, so you can change the yaw. You can also change the yaw of that sensor itself. All right. Let's just go ahead and put that back. You can change the roll if for some odd reason you wanted it pointed down or up, or you want to mount this on the side. You have fine rotation controls. Here's a very important one, vertical transfer. So right now all we're doing is we drag it around. But let's say we had a conveyor belt that we wanted to put this on. You have to do is you have to hold V, is the easiest way, and you can drag it up that way. So now we can get it up onto the conveyor belt. All right. So you either hold the V button, or if you right click on it, you can say vertical trans, and then you can just move your mouse. And then once you click, it will stay at that height. Now I do find it interesting that when you right click and do it this way, you don't see that white grid, where if I'm holding V with my mouse, you see that white grid. And that white grid is very helpful for getting it lined up vertically. So like right now I'm a little below it. If I come up one click, there we go, now I'm lined up with it. So now I can easily get this on top of there. Now, certain items do have some configuration that goes along with them. So let's go ahead and throw this vision sensor in. All right, first you'll notice that we do have a sensing area. Now that sensing area doesn't go all the way up to the sensor itself, all right? So it only goes so close, so we can't have parts too close to this. And if we keep going up, there's also a bottom to that, so we can't go too high above it. But anywhere in that is fair game. Now if we right click on this, notice we do have configurations. So this will change depending on, let's go ahead and throw out some items for it to detect. Let's bring it down a little bit. There we go. So if we go to the configuration here right now, it's looking for a blue base. Notice that is not a blue base. We are not true. If I change the configuration to be a blue lid, all right, it's still not true. Well, once we go into the simulation, then it becomes true. So you can see how me putting that in. And the kind of the crazy thing is, it doesn't matter whether it's right side up or upside down. It will detect either orientation. Now notice it is not detecting this funky orientation. It's got to be up or down. And the reason for that is if we come close to this, you'll notice that there's a little QR code on there, and that is actually what this camera is reading. So we can go ahead and flip that over. You see that it has the same QR code top and bottom, so either way that sensor will read it. Now, also in that configuration, you only can select one of these at a time traditionally. So if I click change this, notice that that check mark is moving. However, at the bottom we do have options for all digital, all numerical, and all ID. If we do all digital, you'll see we got 4 different booleans. Go ahead and hit play. So blue lid is boolean 1. A green solid block is boolean 2. A gray lid, if I can get it in there, is boolean 3. Alright, now let me go ahead and get some more options. I really thought one of those would have worked, but hey, that's the way the game works. I already have one of those, and one of those, and one of these, and one of those. Alright, so now if I put in this one instead, that's boolean 0. What do we say? Boolean 1. Boolean 3. Is this going to be boolean 2? There we go. Boolean 0 and boolean 1. So this is 0, this is 1, this is both. This was what we said, 3. This is, oh, there we go. This is 0 and 3. Alright, so anyway, you can see how, depending on the situation, different booleans will become true with that. Now you can change that if you don't feel like, if you like Boolean logic, all digital is great. If you don't like Boolean, you can go to all numerical, and now it's just going to output a 0, that's a 0, 2. That's a 1, and this one will be a 3. Alright, and I would hope that's 8. Let's see what this one is. That's a 9. Alright, so you can see how these work. So 8, 9, this was 0, 1, 2, 3, so this is probably either 8, 9, 10 or 7, 8, 9. Alright, but anyway, you can see how we can pick which option we want to deal with. There is also the configuration of all ID, which something tells me you guys aren't going to want to deal with, but that's 244, 249, so you can see those are much higher numbers to be dealing with. But anyway, you have those options. So some of these things do have configuration options. So if we go ahead, let's just go to the sensors tab. If we go to our capacitive sensor, notice how short that little line is. We can actually drag that out some or bring it closer in. All right. And again, we have a digital or we have an analog. So we actually have, we can say, oh, this is this close to something, which is really neat that you can. There you go. You can see that analog value changing depending on how close something is to it. So it gives you all sorts of options there. Now, with that analog value, remember with our simulation, it is going to be a bit on the slow side. Running it at either 0.1 or half speed is definitely going to be a requirement, but you guys kind of get the idea. If we go with these light array emitters, again, you need a front and a back to that. And again, they have numerical, digital, or analog. And these are actually height checking. So if I go ahead and click on that, if I can, there you go. You can see how, depending on how high we are, we get a different value. So we can actually sort things based on that. So, very powerful software. And it's overall just drag and drop. You can highlight multiple things and delete them all at once. All right, let's go ahead and do that and do that. Now, for the next thing, we can go up in the world. All right. We showed you how to move the conveyor, not the conveyors, so like the little kicker things and things like that. But you can also move your conveyors up using that same thing, so you can bring that up in the world. So we could do something crazy like this, where you can start way up in the sky. If that's where you want to start. There we go. I need to bring that down a little bit. There we go. And now, you could kind of build a staircase of stuff like this. So you could go from one high conveyor down to a lower conveyor, down to a lower conveyor, and you can just leave stuff floating in the sky. Alright. So, Factory.io, the scene tool, so the build your own scene is really impressive. You're going to probably want to use the light loads. You're probably going to want to use some of these bars, so for directing stuff, packages and whatnot to the right locations. Make sure you leave enough space for one of those parts. And we're also going to end up with some of these stations, either the 2-axis pick and place, which is enough for the final. That's all you truly need, is 2 axes if you do it right. If you want to go a little crazier, you can use a 3-axis pick and place. Alright. And overall, these do have digital and analog options as well. Let's see about this one. Same thing, digital and analog as well. Alright, so that configuration screen, that's going to be very important for you to getting things set up right. As we talked about in class today, the way that you kick things also is kind of important in the long run. Alright, so let's come back up here to my floating. There we go. Alright. If you kick something towards the motor or away from the motor. So if we run this right now, I don't know which way this is going to move. Alright. So if we're going, if the conveyor is running away from us, which is the way that it is running, to me that's how you want to truly use this thing. You want to slide it that way a little bit. There we go. Alright, you want to use it so it goes away from the motor side, because that allows you to put things closer to it. Where if you kick it towards the motor and you want to, catch it right here, that motor is kind of in the way, so you can't get a conveyor belt right where you want it. So you really want to go to the opposite side of the motor, even though it will let you do both. It'd be really nice if you could swing it left and right, or 45 or 90 or something like that, especially since we do have a plus and a minus direction on that belt. But it doesn't give us that option. So just something to think about. Alright, so that is a very brief how to use the scene selection. As I said, you will be using the little palletizing system. Let's go ahead and jump down to the far side of that. So we'll be using that. You'll also be using a few of these. Alright, we need to get that right in place there. Alright. And the location of this one becomes very important because we are using this for loading. So that becomes very, very important. Now notice if we click that and I type in, oh, come on, here we go, like 10. Notice it lines up perfectly with that without a lot too much effort. You do need to have it lifted, and then you can extend it over into that. There you can see how we're doing that. Alright, and then once you're done, you would unlift it, and it would drop the pallet on the shelf. So for funsies, let's just go ahead and put a pallet on that. Items, a pallet. Looks like we gotta yaw it, and then we gotta raise it up a little bit. There we go, and now slide that on. So now when we hit play, oh no. Alright, we gotta bring it back in. Let's try that again. It goes up, we can extend it out, drop it down, retract, and then we can go back to 0. 1. Anyway, you guys can see kind of what's going on and how nicely it puts that pallet in. So as long as we haven't overfilled our pallets and things like that, we'll be in good shape. Alright, so quick kind of demo on how to do this. This is going to take some time to play with, just to figure out how everything works and whatnot. And then it's going to take some time to actually build your simulation. So don't expect to do your final all in a few days. There will be some checkpoints throughout the semester to make sure that you guys have enough time to do this and get it taken care of. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up and get you started on this, because I think this is going to be fun, just building a little scenario and whatnot to start figuring out how you're going to piece and part this whole thing together. So, alright guys, good luck.